I'm ready.
Okay. Call the meeting to order Thursday, August 13th at 2020 at 6:05 p.m. Patty, will you call the roll, please?
Tony Gatliff,
Here.
Dave Gaddis,
Here.
Kathleen Clazier,
Here.
Leslie Notero,
Here.
Rob Risberg,
Here.
Michael Zabel,
Here.
City Manager Lynn Reeves, and Charlotte DeMolay hasn't arrived yet.
Okay, thank you, Patty. First item is the approval of the July 30th, 2020 meeting minutes. Now, Patty and I talked today, and there is one question. Items 4 and 5 on the meeting. Tony Gatliff arrives at 7:42, and Tony Gatliff was excused at 6:49, which is half an hour before he got there.
That's a learned behavior.
That's on me. I will make a motion to amend the minutes. And basically what I would like to do is remove the part where he departed early. That's where I copied the prior weeks and just got in a hurry and left it on there. And there was another discrepancy. I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but can you tell me what the other one was?
Well, there were 2 item number 4s on it, which was like,
That was the other one. Was the second number 4 needed to be number 5?
that was the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve with those changes?
Well, I'm making the motion and
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I
Opposed? Okay. Passed. Thank you.
so now that we've made the motion to amend, do we need to go through with the approval?
Okay, so we've amended it. All in favor of approving the as amended minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, amended and approved. Okay. Next item on the meeting is our discussion of committee deliverables and priorities. And I think we've talked about, our first step would be a mailing to the property owners to say, okay, how do you want to communicate? Do you want to be on email? Do you want to be text messages? Just use the website, and so on. I think we got an updated form of that mailing. And Rob, are you the one who's been doing this mailing?
No, that's Tony, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was, I amended it, made it larger for two couple of reasons to get more information on there, but also I believe we're talking about putting that on the website, and as opposed to people filling out a postcard and popping it back in the mail with their personal information possibly exposed, would access it through the city website or come in, call, whatever. But that's one of the reasons why we enlarged it to a full letter sized, which it is now.
So what we would maybe send out to the owners is, hey guys, check the website. There's a form on there. We're trying to approve this, and then have the form on the website.
Yeah, I do believe we do need to notify. Obviously, we need to notify the residents, homeowners, that we're asking for them to do something.
Okay. Yeah, and say, if you're not uncomfortable filling it out online, feel free to either print it out and return it to City Hall, or stop by City Hall and we'll have forms there. So I think that, that would be the first step that we need to do. Is that trying to figure out what we're going to tell the city council at the next meeting. This is how we're going to get them aware that we're doing this, and I think it would have a minimal impact on city staff. It's not like we're calling everybody. The only real cost for this is to send out a postcard mailing, say, hey, check the website.
I would think that the first thing that we would want to provide to the council is the strategy. Here's the strategy that we came up with, which includes the types of information that should be communicated to the residents of the city, the frequency of that communication, and then the recommended means of communication, and lay that all out first, and then start getting into, okay, then the next step is the postcard and establishing a Facebook page and making the website, whatever we want to add to the website, the steps that would flow in order to execute the strategy.
Okay. That was the next on my list. Maybe I'm just doing it backwards, and the strategy would be the Excel spreadsheet that we've got about safety issues, city meetings, status of infrastructure, and so on, right?
So that would be the first set of deliverables, which is the what.
Okay.
And basically, whenever this is presented to the council, what are we doing? Are we just presenting this in a paper format, and then or not a paper format, but in a PDF or something of our report, and then you will give the summary in the next council meeting? Because I'm trying to figure out how, I guess as secretary, I'm supposed to compile this data. So I'm going to need several pieces of data from everyone that has drawn up. We have this what list, which I may have the very latest, but I may not. So I need to confirm that. And then the how, that one, we have several things that we've discussed, but we haven't really made a formal list of how we're going to do it. The third piece of it is the metrics of how do we measure the effectiveness of what we're doing. And that's where I'm really struggling, is people generally don't give direct feedback on something. Lynn, whenever you send out a letter or a postcard to the entire city, how many replies do you get back just in general?
It's, you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we haven't really asked for a reply back on anything other than the undergrounding project, and we got much less than 10% of return on that. So we haven't really sent anything to ask for them to do something.
And this is my struggle with that last part of it, is that, okay, I don't want the council to come back and say that what we're doing is a waste of time if people don't respond and give feedback to every piece of information that we deliver to them. I think it's our job to decide what we should hand off to the community and how we're going to get it to them. But you can't force people to respond. And that's the only way you can measure what, whether they got the message, or even if it stuck with them.
Sadly, the people that respond are the people who are unhappy.
I mean, you can measure some things. If the city establishes a Facebook page, you can get stats reported, how many people liked it and those kinds of things. I'm sure there's a way to track how many people visit various parts of the city's website. Things like that. But you're right. You're not going to get feedback except for usually the people who are very happy about something or very angry about something. And
yeah, you usually get the outliers. One thing I'd caution is you have to manage their expectations by setting the ground rules for them. In other words, that touchstone specifically about the 10% on basically a very divisive issue, you state that going in and said, historically, for a divisive issue, we faced 10% penetration, and this is how it was measured. Going forward, we know we have to improve on it, but keep in mind historical perspective that we don't anticipate overnight 100% penetration into the market. That based on our previous attempt, 10%. Look, an increase of 2, 4, 5% is a welcome addition. And keep in mind, it's incremental. Over time, as the service improves, people will be more and more willing to participate.
And what the three mediums that we can absolutely gauge as whether they're actually reading it or not is whether they're receiving it is emails like Constant Contact, text, and then robocalls. And those three things we can definitely see reports. Lynn,
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you get reports back on the success of Constant Contact.
Right.
I demonstrated a week or two ago, whenever it was, with the robocalls or the text messages, you get a report of who's getting those also. And in most cases, if they don't want them, they opt out, or they make a phone call, an angry phone call, and say, I don't want these anymore, get me off your list. But at least with those three mediums, we know that they are at least getting the message. Whether they actually do anything with it or not is another story.
Yeah, a good example would be we did a survey on Constant Contact a couple years ago, but we only received responses from about 110 people. Well, there again, that's less than 10% of the population. Even if we said, it's only 1,000 people, it's still about 10%. And recently, we had to send letters out to the repetitive loss homes in the city. I got 3 responses back from 60 letters. So it's, like I said, it's just the nature, they get the information, but, they may not have any interest beyond getting the information.
Yeah, I think it's like Mike said, when you brief the council, you just got to set the expectations properly. You're not going to get a lot of feedback on the vast majority of the information you share with the residents. And you can't see that as a failure. Like Lynn said, 60 people got their letters. They all got them, but only 3, felt motivated to write back.
Our first indication is going to be when we send out this postcard saying, in an effort to improve and increase the communications, do you want to be contacted by email, text message, whatever, and we'll see how many people respond to that. That's going to be our first. Some people, they're very happy with what's going on. They don't feel a need to be communicated with or otherwise to communicate. So I think that will be our first indication of, the communication issue. How successful is it?
But that's still not a very realistic measure, because of the fact that even though you're mailing out something, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to respond, because it's not easy. It requires effort. So we have to provide them a link on the website with the identical form. Basically, we already have an email list. It's not the best in the world, but it's functional, and so we can send the link out in that email requesting people. I think the more ways we can figure out initially to get people to sign up for this, the more response we're going to get. But if you have to take a piece of paper and then go over and physically type in a URL to get to an email form versus you're looking at Facebook or something and there's a link right there, well, that's instant. And that's the way people respond nowadays to things. If we do, we can't expect just the mailer to get enough response. We're going to have to attack it in every way possible on the first attempt.
I think it's going to be important to make the council understand that they want to improve communications. I think everybody on the city council have made that very clear. They definitely want to improve communications. And so they're just going to have to do it and not worry about, well, we're only hearing back from 10% of the people, because you're just not going to hear back from more than that. But don't let that be the reason to not push communications out. You're just going to have to accept it.
Great.
Yeah.
I think where you'll see some feedback will be on the important city topics, stormwater issues, stuff like that, and where that will reveal itself is at meetings with, they'll have a greater attendance, perhaps, be it virtual or in person. That could be the type of feedback that they'll end up getting. But if you send out something, hey, there's going to be a hot dog thing in the park, well, no one's going to respond to that, But for the important things, people will come to meetings or sign in to them. And I think we track that. Lynn, do we track those? Do you know when people have signed in to view a city meeting?
Yeah, we can get those statistics from the clicks on the website. We get that information. It's the same as we get on Constant Contact. We get the click turnaround, how many people actually opened the email. But there again, 300 could have opened the email and 100 said something. So I don't think you can base it on the response. That's really the problem. You have more avenues to put stuff out, like click send. We add the Facebook page and attach it to the website. We offer this. We try to rebuild our Constant Contact list, and that may be in itself a way to clean that Constant Contact list up and say, hey, we're going to do away with this list. If you want to still be contacted, please, go on the website, update, send us your email. And that way it's more of a verification that they actually live in the city. So I think we still do flood facts, and, maybe a couple times a year we do some type of paper newsletter. So you can communicate with everyone, but responding to the communication, as I think all of you understand, the only way to measure that is, to me, is the clicks on the website or the stuff that we send out with click send, how many people actually opened it. You aren't going to be able to say because they didn't respond that, going forward, that's how you're going to have to measure it. There's no other way.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's realistic to think that they're going to get some response more than that minimal that we're talking about. So it's a matter of you push that information out there to them. If we're good at that's about all you can do. But I agree with Rob. They shouldn't. The council shouldn't decide, well, if we're not going to get a feedback, why should we do it? Well, I think you do it because it is getting out there. It's going to be in front of them. They're going to read it. Whether they choose to respond, show up in a meeting, whatever, will be up to them. But the city would have done their job in getting that information, that important information to its residents.
Well, communication is one-way or two-way, and it looks like we might have more success with one-way communication rather than two-way, and that's still good.
Sure.
Well, that's still, I kind of disagree with that. I think actually leaving a method on the website where you can drop off your comment is much more convenient and much more friendly for most people these days, rather than picking up the phone and making a phone call and either leaving a voicemail or asking to speak to Lynn. I think that's the piece of that we've been missing is a way that they can electronically send a message at their convenience. It can be the middle of the night, early in the morning, whatever, and then Lynn or whoever reads it at their convenience, and then they can decide whether they want to respond back or not. But at least that way, it's not hard. It's not hard to leave a message with the city. And something else I thought of also, another way. It seems to me right now the most popular communication method we have, and the way that people are catching up is after the fact on YouTube videos. And I'm wondering, I don't know how we're actually delivering the video to YouTube now, if it's edited at all, or if we're just taking raw footage and throwing it into YouTube. But there should be some way that during the entire length of every video and audio recording that we place on YouTube, we should have a link or a blurb that says, click the link below to join our email list. And so, it's another way. I bet more people watch our YouTube videos than they ever go to our website. Lynn, do you have any insight on that?
Well, I don't know click-wise. I think probably more people go to the website than they click with the videos on YouTube. I know over the years, and I'm just giving you history now, but over the years, that's part of the reason that we went away from the television and the TV and stuff like that, because we weren't getting any viewership, I guess, or it was very minimalistic. And I'm sure, certain people have different ways to look at things. They'll go to the website, and that's not to say we can't put that link on the YouTube thing at the bottom. I don't know that with the Zoom meetings right now, we're recording them and then putting them up the next day. So I know that Victor, when he records the meeting, he does some editing to kind of clean it up so the voices and sound is better. But he does that, and it takes a few days to do that after the meeting. But I don't think it's a problem.
That's the in-person meetings, right?
Right. This is like, immediate.
Yep.
And I have talked to Victor about even streaming the meeting live, and Indian Rocks is doing a test on that right now. They've done it a couple times.
Yeah, it requires another piece of software to make it all work, but it does work.
Yeah.
So we're basically going to set some realistic expectations on the metrics that honestly, I think the best measurement is people not complaining about communications anymore. Because if we give them every method possible and it's out there, all you have to do is join, sign up. We're posting things on YouTube. We've got forms on the website. We've got a delivery method on Facebook, and we offer texting and robocalls. there should never be a complaint, at least about communication.
Well, I think you're setting yourself up for disappointment if that's your measurement, because people are going to complain no matter what.
Well, that's
You
true.
could-
But
you could hand deliver the message to them, Dave, and you're still going to get people complaining. But
Oh,
I
that's-
think the other big thing of feedback is just going to be, all the things that we've already talked about. But then it's just going to be Lynn in his interactions with people around the city, and each of the council members with their interactions with people around the city. If they seem to know more, if they have heard about an issue, if they've done things, even if they've never responded to anything, you're going to get all that anecdotal type of feedback that's going to tell you about whether your message is going out or not.
Yeah, and there are two kinds of communications. I mean, are they complaining about what we're communicating, that we're not communicating with them, or are they complaining about what we're communicating? They don't like the message. They did get the message, but they don't like the message, if you know what I mean. The substance versus the fact that they got the communication. And there's,
I don't like the message sometimes.
if you understand the distinction.
One other thing I hope that the committee needs to resolve, we've been talking about a digital sign at City Hall, and we talked about it at the first meeting, and I have a short video that kind of gives you what it would look like, but it would fit in to the current sign. The only difference would be digital, which gives us more opportunity to put more messaging up there. And people continually tell us that I can't read your sign.
Right.
So, and I know Dave's heard it, and I've heard it probably more than any of you, but that's something, it's been put in the budget, and we need a recommendation from the committee to say, do you want to do that? Or it's not a good idea, just leave it as it is. But if Patty, I'll just show you a picture, and you're going to see basically all it has is text on it. And let me see if I can get this back up here. We played with it, and come on.
You're gonna have to share you have to share your screen.
What do I need to do then? Do you see it?
No. So minimize the video, then go to your us as a group, and down at the bottom it says share screen.
Yeah, I did do that.
Okay, and so you're not sharing anything yet.
You see it now?
Yeah, I do now.
I'm through now.
Okay, well this is the type of digitization. The waviness you see in it's because they took a video of it for us. Darn it, it's not very long. But what we're proposing to do is put this type of digital sign in the existing sign that's at City Hall, and basically take out the letters that are there, because it would be more visible, and at the same time, I think people catch better eyesight with something moving as opposed to something that just sits there, with a line. But
Yeah.
we get a lot of complaints. So this is just a idea, and going forward, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Lynn, I remember very well that council meeting where, that was up and you had people came out of the woodwork to.
That was when it was on Gulf Boulevard.
Right. And I think that was the big fear. Everybody thought this was going to be on Gulf Boulevard or right there at the little park on the corner of the Gulf Boulevard and the Causeway. And it just turned everybody off. What video you just showed looks good to me. I mean, I am in favor of a sign that is more easily readable, which you can't do as you drive past that building very often. So I think if you show that video, you'll allay a lot of the fears that people had.
Yeah, and most of the people at that meeting, they didn't have a problem with it being at City Hall. They just didn't want it on Gulf Boulevard at that time.
And I think we had a little design art in it too, and they didn't like that either, as opposed to just the very basic one that you've shown. Now, how does that affect traffic going by? I mean, if you put like city council meeting, such and such a time, committee meeting, such and such a time, workshop, such and such a time, is it going to have any effect on traffic going over the causeway?
There's signs out there. This is just a way, actually it's a way to put more information up there in essence, because you can rotate it, you know, with, okay, today I think that sign said COVID and then it said something else and whatever. So I don't think that's you know, those signs are out there everywhere. I just think the number of issues we hear from people is, I can't read your sign, I can't read your sign. Well, we changed a lot of the blue lettering. Instead of going out and trying to buy new signs, we went to, you know, it's a mixture of black and blue to give some contrast to it. But it's still the same situation. We still hear it.
I have a recommendation that I'd like to make if everybody's okay with that. Basically, there's two problems with the sign where it is right now. Number one, the lettering is behind a glass and it's recessed. Okay, so that makes it hard to read. And as you get closer to it, the edge of the sign, because it's sort of in a box. So as you get closer to it, all of a sudden everything's flat and you can't see anything. You're going to, if we went this route, the glass would be gone. Is that correct, Lynn?
Yeah, there's no glass now. There's no glass cover.
Okay, but it sits back. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what would happen is this would basically sit on this frame, because that's what we went to look at.
But would it be further out than what it is currently?
Oh yeah. It would be basically, it would be attached to the frame, the posts on both sides.
Okay, because the two problems that I have is number one, it's set in,
right.
So it's sort of like a shadow box, and then number two is it's way off the road. So all along, I have thought that really it needed to be a V shape. In other words, that whole monument sign design should really have been a V or a triangle, so that whenever people are riding by, because it sets back off the road, it's easier to read if it's facing people. So what I'd like to propose is that we propose going with a sign, with that sign, and if it still is not readable after the fact, well, then we save the hardware and rebuild the actual base that contains it, so that it is more of a V shape. And it's, you know, as you're riding down the road, it's more facing the car rather than you're sort of trying to look. It's just really hard to read at the angle that it's at. Does anyone have any feedback on that?
Redesign,
I agree with that.
Reworking of the sign. I think it needs to be higher as well. So we
Yeah, I think the sign is a good idea, and I think you're right. It'd be nice if it was angled out a little bit. I didn't catch the V thing at first, but not sure what you're saying now. But yeah, if it's angled out a little bit, it'll be easier to see. You know, someone's still going to complain, because they're going to, you know, complain that they missed the change when it told them something else. But at least it will be more visible. That mobility site that Lynn showed us, that's very readable. I've been by that site, and you know, we've seen those signs all over the place. They're very, you can glance at them and quickly see what's there. But yeah, I mean, if it needs to be adjusted for height, because it is low right now, it's set fairly low. I don't know if it's at the driver's eyesight or not. Kind of feels like it's down into memory, but.
Now we'll have to go drive by it tomorrow and see.
Yeah.
I think the V shape will give you more time to read the sign too. Because the way
Sure.
it is now, you've got real short period of time where you can read that sign. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree. And Lynn, when you if it gets approved and you go to do it, maybe you can even build some of the V into it without major reconstruction of that whole sign.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, we may be able to, do something. The major cost is the digital boards, basically. That's the cost. And like I said, we were trying to reuse what's there, and maybe we can do some kind of angle off of that sign somehow that you could actually, maybe it doesn't have to be a V shape. It could be built as a V off of the sign, kind of trying to swing it out and adjust the roof of the sign. That might work, as far as maybe on the back side of the sign. I'm just going to use this as simplistic. Maybe if we put some kind of block or build out at the backside, you're pushing that backside out and it ends up in a V anyway. That may be a possibility. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I would imagine that the sign people, this wouldn't be the first time they've heard this, and they probably have something that
Right.
fits that description.
Yeah. Some kind of bracket that you can
Sure.
adjust it.
Well, I'm in favor of your idea there, Dave. So do we
Yeah.
got to vote and put it on the list or what?
We reworked the sign by City Hall, whether redesign it to a V shape, put a video sign or whatever, but we redesigned it and maybe reposition it a bit so that it is more visible as you're driving by. Is that what we're looking at?
That's it.
I think
Yep.
so.
Everybody in favor of that?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Do we want to, if that is going to be one of our recommendations, do we want to add that onto the spreadsheet in the how to communicate column where for city meetings and some of those types of blocks of information, we want to add the digital sign as well?
Yes.
Yeah, we do. Matter of fact, I'm surprised that we didn't already have it on there, but
Yeah.
it should be added.
Particularly on the city meetings, we put up on the City Hall sign.
So I don't know if everyone had the chance to attend or at least watch the video of the last council meeting, but it was brought up in the meeting to use some of our nest egg to push this project forward. I don't think an actual number was established, but I think that overall it was a unanimous decision to spend some money on communications. Is that what you got out of this, Lynn?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's a very realistic goal to replace the sign. That's not an issue. Also, they like the idea of the click send. They didn't have a problem with that. The Facebook page, even it's running now, but
It is?
yes, we have one that's online right now.
The city ran Facebook or the other?
It's a city ran Facebook page.
And
Yeah,
what-
it says official because there's Bel Air Beach Facebook pages, and different people have them. So,
Right.
and we've got the add-on to the website where whatever we put on the website in announcements, we can move it to Facebook. The only thing that, and Dave and I have talked about it, and Kyle and I have talked about it. The only thing that is a little bit of a concern is we do not want it to get into a response from
Right.
Facebook. And people can put stuff on there, and you can limit their what they put on there with, filling up this section. And Dave can probably explain it better than me, but using words like the and this and that and what have you. You say they can't post something like that, but there is no way not to allow a person to post on there. You can, what do you want to call it, Dave?
It's basically it's a workaround, and what
Workaround.
it is it's basically a filter mechanism.
Filter.
So let's say that you have a list of naughty words that you don't allow. So what happens is they're able to drop a comment, but it's invisible to everyone. So they drop it, but no one can see it. And basically the city does not respond to any responses whatsoever. So it may show that we have 3 or 4 comments, but nobody can see anything because every word possible is on the naughty list. So unless you're writing in some strange gibberish code, their comments are not publicly viewable. I don't know if that was implemented or not, but I did review it with Kyle about how it works.
Yeah, we put a bunch of words in there, and it's going to, you may add words to it over time, but it's to start, we've got a basic amount of words put in there.
When you say the city can respond to these, are we talking about the city staff?
No,
Yep.
we don't want to respond.
It's one-way communication, and basically, if we try to block it, if we just add enough words in there to where you can't make a sentence, take words out like a, and, the, him, her, mayor, council, things that people are going to say about Bel Air Beach and those types of comments, and they're just dropped immediately. They're there, but because it's one-way communication, it's just a comment, and we're not doing anything with it. That's I mean, honestly, there's so many other city and county and state governments that have Facebook pages. I don't know what they're doing, if they're just not responding and just allowing the comments to roll in. I really don't know. But this is the only way possible to actually have that presence to where we can, again, drop a one-way message. And if people wander up on this page or they go to it often, they're going to see the same content that we're pushing on our one-way website also. It's just another form that they're probably already walking around with, and because they live in Bel Air Beach, they're going to see relative communication going at the top of their Facebook page, which they'll see on their phone. They log in on their computer, whatever. Whereas the website, the city website, they have to physically go there and go looking for it. But most of the people that use Facebook are already on Facebook. They're checking it all day long, seeing what their friends are up to, and bang, we're at the top of the list because they live in Bel Air Beach every time something's posted.
And my question is, I'm not sure I understand what having a Facebook page adds to what we have on our city website. It's the same information.
Well, it gives it's another avenue to communicate. I mean, people some people will go to the website. You know, me personally, I'd probably go to the website because I'm old and I don't really get into Facebook. But, you know, other people that are out there, you know, Dave's young. He probably got 10 Facebook pages. I don't know, but I'm just saying, you know, he probably posts to Facebook, you know, but that's just a preference of people. It's another way to communicate to someone.
And I thought that was the mission of this group, was to find other avenues to communicate other than just what we've been doing.
Was there any discussion of making it a site where you have a private site where you have to request to join, to try to limit the people on here to residents and owners, as
You
opposed
cannot
to?
do that because then it's no longer it's public.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm sure a lot of you guys are on this, what we call Nextdoor, where we're getting all of these comments now, many of which are not all that nice. You know, I don't want to get it. I'm afraid of getting into that arena.
Yeah, we absolutely should not get into that. I think, you know, the idea of not having any sort of response is excellent. Having the ability to, through maybe the city's website, send a note to Lynn that when you do click send on that, it's not posted on the website. You know, it goes right to Lynn, and it's a confidential message, in essence, is fine. But yeah, certainly no back and forth. That's the recipe.
Right.
That'll fall apart in a week.
Well, see, the problem with responding or offering a response at all is now you have to maintain the records.
Right.
This way, if all you're doing is outputting information and it's a no reply, no response, then we're not required to maintain public record.
There you go.
Yeah, that's an important part of it. You know, the not having to retain that. You know, we're just getting out information to someone.
Mm-hmm.
We don't run into sunshine law issues.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
So going back to the what needs to be delivered, I think the that matrix that Rob set up is excellent.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I think that's something you can definitely present to the council. It's easy to understand. It's complete. I think it's complete.
The update of that sign, we're going to add the sign to it.
Add the sign to it. Yeah.
Well, that was the how. That's different than the what.
Oh yeah, correct.
Right, it's under the how column. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you want to add it into every category of the information? I think it really only fits into the priority 2 stuff, the city council meetings type stuff, right?
I would
Right.
say no more than what we're currently doing. Maybe the you know, in special cases where 6 feet distance on the beach, you know, those kind of
Yes.
things, you know, public service announcements, and when are what's the next meetings? Pretty much exactly what we're doing now.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll add that into that column for city meetings.
Right, city hall sign for,
And that may expand down the road depending on how the sign goes and people's response and the ease of it.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this. At the last meeting, when Leslie presented, you know, what we were up to and where we were in these discussions, I will say that she didn't give Facebook a fair shake, and she kind of voiced her opinion to the council that she didn't like that idea. But I didn't think that that's what this committee had agreed upon. And so I'm going to respectfully request that whatever this committee agrees upon, that's the message that should be delivered. And then during citizen comments, that should be where you voice your own opinion. But if we reach a consensus on something or a majority, that's really what needs to be presented.
I agree. Whatever, and the same would go for the written report that we're going to provide the city council in these documents. I would hope that we all get to review them and make sure that we all agree that it's an accurately captures what we discussed and what we recommend before it gets presented.
Absolutely concur, Robert and Dave. Absolutely 100% with you.
Well, if that's the case, and we were trying to wrap this up by the next meeting, the next meeting is postponed until the 9th. Is that right?
It's not postponed. That's just the first.
It's because of a holiday.
It's because of a holiday, and because it's our first public hearing for the budget. That's why it's on a Wednesday.
Well, what about our council meeting?
That's your council meeting at the same time, on the 9th of September.
I will try to get together a report with, all these things and get it out to everyone within the next week and get it to you before the, obviously before the meeting on September 9th.
Well, what we'll have to do is we will have, if we're going to review this and then decide whether if there's anything we like or dislike, we will have to have one more meeting. We can't communicate about this individually. Even if we send it to Patty, that'll be communicating back. We have to.
Right.
You can send it out and we'll all review it independently, but we're going to have one more meeting just to say, yeah, we agree, even if it's a 5-minute meeting.
Right. When we get the report, Patty will send it out to everyone. And then if anyone wants to provide feedback back to Patty or myself, that's fine. And then we can collect all that stuff and have it for the next meeting to make it, I'll say, simpler in the end. So we would provide that at that meeting for everyone. And then it probably wouldn't be very long.
Right.
Okay, so Rob, you're basically maintaining the list of what and how. Is that right?
Yeah, it's got what, when, and how. The 3 big things they asked.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, that makes our job easy.
Yeah.
All right. And then once we receive that list, we also need to agree upon how we're going to present the lower your expectations for measurement metrics. I will try to write something up on this, and then I will submit it also to Patty to pass to everyone. Remember, don't respond back directly to me, and then whenever we meet at the next meeting, then we'll shore all this up and have it ready to go.
Okay. Where's my scribblings?
For the city council purposes, do you need me to manipulate that postcard letter to include the sign?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, that would probably be, just to add that to it.
Just so all together. Yeah. Okay.
I had one suggestion on that postcard, or well, now it's a piece of paper, but down at the bottom, you had name, address, phone number. The phone number was optional. But above that, we had, would you rather have like a voicemail? And I noticed in text, there was a phone number blank, but in voicemail, there wasn't. And down underneath it says optional. So what if they check that box, but they don't put anything in the optional box? It might not be a bad idea just to add a blank that goes along with I would prefer to have a robocall.
Yeah.
Interesting to see how many people actually vote for robocalls.
Go with the 50 I got today.
I don't know, but I'm gonna have to renew my car warranty because it's out.
Oh, yeah, have you gotten your last call?
Perhaps they'll stop calling if you do renew it.
Yeah.
They'll get you on TV, Dave.
Not in a good way.
So what date are we looking at for the next
I'm just looking for,
Thursday's 27th?
yeah, does that work?
Let me see here. Double checking. 27th. Yep, that works for me.
August 27th?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yep.
When?
Yeah, Patty won't be here, but we'll work it out.
Yeah, that's
Well,
good.
they don't-
I agree. If we do it on Thursday, the 27th, then that would, if for whatever reason, we have more things we need to fix, that would still give us another
A
week
week. Yeah.
before the council meeting to do that.
Right.
My goal is to wrap this up. If we
Yeah, I
could
agree.
wrap this up, that would be awesome. And honestly, we should be able to agree on what amendments we make to the compiled data and vote on it and be done with it and have it
Is
ready.
there a prescribed format for the report, Lynn? Does the council, do all these committees report in the same format?
No, they just try to follow kind of what your charter is, and you've got that set up, so that's fine.
Okay. I mean, I just was scribbling some notes to myself here, and so if there is not a format that we must use, and I would kind of see a report, obviously it starts with an intro that recaps what the council asked us to do, gives we met X number of times on these dates type of thing, so that's part of the record. And then the next piece would be a summary of the strategy. We kind of summarize what's on the spreadsheet and reference the spreadsheet, which would be attached to this report. The third paragraph would be the list of the no kidding recommendations. Recommend you do this, 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 and this. Fourth paragraph just kind of closes it all up and says thanks for the opportunity. And then the attachments to the report would be the spreadsheet, the postcard, and then the information on the various systems. I know, Dave, you presented us info on the texting system and on an audio system. So any of that stuff I would think would just be attachments to the report so they could see those things. That makes sense?
Yeah, that sounds good. Are we going to put monetary costs for these ideas as well to include the sign changes?
Lynn, do you have the quote on that, right?
Yeah, we have the quote on the digital portion of it, and we, to make minor adjustments, I think based on our current budget that we're going into next year with, we'll have enough funds to modify it in whatever way we need to.
Well,
Yeah, outside.
this is all ballpark anyway. It's the best guess. Not until you get right down into doing exactly what you want to do are you going to get the best cost. So I think that's perfect.
Yeah. And I think outside of the sign, anything that we've are looking at is fairly cost conscious. So I don't see.
One of the things I think we have to put in there is impact on city staff. You know, is this going to double somebody's workload? Are we going to have to hire somebody else to do this? You know, that sort of thing.
Right.
That monetary impact.
Well, initially, I think the initial portion is kind of a moot point until we see where we're going in the end. You know, it may be more of an impact, but what we'll do, we'll maybe have to add I don't know, $5,000 if we want to do a couple mailings and this, that, and the other to the budget, because really, this really wouldn't start till probably after October 1st. Some of the things we could go ahead and, we're doing already, trying to get the Facebook situated so it works. We've got to ask a question to the manager on the website already. We might need to do some things with, but those are things that are not going to cost us anything. That's just some time. But if we're going to mail a newsletter a couple times a year, then there is a cost associated with that because it has to be set up for a printer to print it and for us to mail it. And click send, I don't think that cost is a great amount from what Dave's told me.
No, it's relatively inexpensive.
Yeah. So we'll just, have that. Actually, Dave, since we're going to have our last budget work session, I'll just bring that stuff up in the work session that we need to put a little money aside for the committee or for the.
What do you anticipate the cost will be to? I don't know how our website is maintained or who actually does the behind the scenes work. I know that right now it's set up to where we can update content in-house, but whenever it comes to something like adding a form to the web page, that may be a little more in depth than what.
Yeah, but it's a negligible cost.
Okay.
Yeah, I think to add I forget what they call it, but to add the thing with the contact to the Facebook, they call it something, but I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But I think that costs us like $15 or something. It's not a great expense.
Okay, what I was talking about is the database that where we're going to be collecting names, addresses, phone numbers.
Yeah, we'll find that out for you. I'll find out.
So basically, the way I see it is, you're going to take the form that Tony has the mailer. If you just hand them that and say, I want a digital version of this, and I would like to be able to export the list at any given time, I think that would be sufficient. Does everyone agree?
Yeah, and it's going to have like 1,000 entries max. That's just give them some idea of what sort of size we're looking at.
Yeah, they'll get. I don't think they're going to tell us. I think they're going to more tell us to create this and make it go to a spreadsheet. It'll cost you $50 or something. I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm going to submit is I'm going to submit to Patty basically the technical things that we've discussed and basically what the cost, if I know what that is, and if there's any overhead or labor involved, additional labor for the city and how it would be done. Just basically a brief summary of each one of the technical additions that we would like to for the council to consider. is there, let's see, and then there was something, oh yeah, and then I'm going to also write up the lower your expectations paragraph, and I will send that information on. Is there anything else I'm supposed to send? No?
In that line, I'll update the spreadsheet, and I will also type up this recommended outline of the report, and I will send that all out to you, or through Patty as well.
Okay. And what else? Is there anything else?
And Tony, you're going to update the form, right?
I'll update the form as we discussed.
Okay. All right, and Rob, you're going to update. So you're actually writing the summary report, Rob?
Well, what I was going to do first was send out the outline of that report so that we can agree, and then we probably ought to do a little division of labor and who's going to put together the various pieces of it so we can bring it all together.
So the things that I'm going to give to you are basically what I think what I'd like to see is I'm going to send you bits and pieces of information. Tony's going to send you something. You have the spreadsheet. I'm hoping that between all of that, we can come up with something that's close. Is that asking too much, or do you think or would you rather divide it up somehow to where?
No, I mean, I'll give it a shot. I'll send out I can send out the outline pretty quickly, but then as we start putting it back together, if you want me to assemble it and massage it a little bit and produce a full draft for us to look at, sure, I'll give that a shot.
Okay, because basically, if you can hold that and let us just send you this stuff, and then you send out your rough draft, well, then we can beat it up at the next meeting and then agree on maybe the final format, but maybe we just hash it out line for line and be done with it.
Okay.
My goal, I'm hoping we can accomplish this is have one more meeting, and that's the next one, and then we're done. And we can say high five each other and we've knocked it out, and then it's up to the council to act upon it. Remember, we're not going to get feedback. We're going to get a thank you, and we appreciate your efforts, and that's all we're going to get. And it'll be up to the council. The feedback will be whether they actually do anything with it or not.
Any other comments, issues? Yes, no?
Nope.
I think I've got plenty to go on from here.
Okay. All right, then. Next meeting will be on the, is it wrote down here somewhere? Will be
27th?
27th at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
All righty.
ready? Adjourning?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. I can't second. I'm chair.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
If you're not in favor, have a nice time.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, thanks.
All right. See you.
Good night, guys.